Good evening. So our subject this Sunday, before we enter into the Lenten season, is leprosy. Just a word about the actual disease before we kind of get into this symbology, if you will, of it. Because leprosy is probably the best symbol in all of the Old Testament and New for sin. Unless someone is really familiar with the disease, they have no idea that they even have it. They can come into contact with it, but you can be a carrier of it and infect others before it ever shows up, and this can go on for 3 to 5 years. In some cases, it's as long as 20 years. Second, leprosy attacks the nerves more than anything else, which kills the person's ability to feel and to see, to smell. But it doesn't do it all at once. It's an incredibly slow, gradual process over those years. And then finally, we know it as the flesh-eating disease. But by that time, it's in the way late stages, rendering a person so repulsive that they become an outcast and unwanted. One might even say it makes the individual physically less human. And one can only imagine from that Old Testament reading the isolation that a person would feel who had this disease. You couldn't even come into contact with anybody to talk to them, right? As they approached from a long distance. Unclean! Unclean! Stay away from me! As you suffered unto death. Now, really all we need to do is hear this, and we can kind of make the transition into the fact that this is a real description for sin, if we're honest about it. And one of the main problems in the time, day, and age that we're living in is that most people are completely and totally ignorant of sin, very similar to what they would have been in the Old Testament with leprosy. Now we have treatments for leprosy. Unless you're in like the pit of a third world country, no one dies from it any longer. We have the cure. But sin now is more unknown than it ever has been. Just for a second, right? You're all here at Sunday Mass. And don't worry, I'm not going around the church to ask anybody in particular, but can you list the 10 Commandments? Try it when you get home. No looking up on the phone or anything like that. Just list them. And better yet, can you list the 10 Commandments in order? If you can do that, which would be the primary diagnostic tool for sin in our lives, take it a step further, and can you list the 7 deadly sins? Which are sort of the overarching for so many of the little ones that fall underneath of them. The great majority of believers in the world don't know either. And get outside of believers and they know nothing. At its core, sin attacks the soul, deeply wounds it. And in doing so, it damages, if not kills, our connection with God. And so people that are in the state of mortal sin have destroyed that connection. One mortal sin, that connection is gone. And so when people are like, well, I pray, but I don't feel God. I don't feel like God's in my life anywhere. Well, if we don't go to confession with this stuff, He's trying to get in, but you pushed Him out. Now just think about how many people, believing people, who no longer practice the sacrament of reconciliation are living in that state. In the church. Finally, sin unconfessed and untreated disfigures the soul, makes it into something less than what it is. It changes us. And if we don't use the remedies that Christ has given us to become what we're supposed to be in Him, then that change is fired forever in death. And we are never able to escape it. It can kill us forever. It's always one of the great lines in the scripture. Do not fear anyone who can kill the body. Fear that which can kill the soul. Because that's forever. And so if not treated just like leprosy, it's a gradual, slow process throughout a person's life, and it can easily go undetected as it kills our consciences that at one point in time would have recognized the smallest infraction, now aren't even affected by the greatest transgression. All pushed down and hidden in the very depths of the vault of our soul. So deeply that we don't even remember. That being said, if you're familiar with sin and its effects, just like a doctor diagnosing leprosy, sin is easily diagnosed, detected, and treated. Thank God that the Lord gave us his mercy in the sacrament of reconciliation. Anonymously. Years, sometimes, of the most grievous transgressions that one can think of are forgiven instantaneously, burned up in the fire of unfathomable mercy in the Sacred Heart itself. Not just forgiven, but forgotten for all eternity. That doesn't exist anymore. So what does it have to do with us right now? Well, it has everything to do with us, the world, the church, right here, right now. This is the most important topic that there is. Because we are living in an incredibly strange time, unlike any other time of church history, in which the origin of the disease itself, which is Lucifer, and that's something to think about. He's not just like the ones that got us to sin. He is sin. Imagine how disgusting that thing must be. Just to be in its presence would be a torture. But he's confused the whole situation. He's done a good job of it. To understand this, it's best explained using a medical model, right? We're Americans. We have the best doctors, hospitals, medicine in the world. So imagine, despite all of this wonderful medicine that we have, there was a new massive national movement against it in which people just quit believing in it. Cancer? Nah, I don't believe in cancer any longer. I'm beyond that. Worse yet, how about if everybody stopped believing in the treatments? I know that your medicine, you're a medical person, teaches that we're supposed to take this thing called chemotherapy that gets rid of the cancer, and I guess I survive it. But I don't believe in that any longer. I moved beyond it. I just know when I get cancer, I just got to shout into the air, I'm cancer-free 5 times, and it's gone. We would look at a person like that and be like, that is the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life. Don't be so judgmental. I don't need to go to the doctor. He's a man just like me. Gets up in the morning and puts his pants on just like I do. Of course I believe in disease, but I'm not a medical individual. I'm an intellectual person. So I have a different idea about all these things. It's what I believe. You go ahead and believe what you want to believe, and I'll believe what I want to believe. Like when you see it from a medical perspective, this is the most ridiculous of dispositions that could exist. And yet, this is the mainstream approach to our faith and religion. The priest? What does the priest know? He's just a man like everybody else. Yeah. The church teaches whatever, but what I believe. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. So here we stand at the beginning of Lent, Ash Wednesday being this Wednesday. And as your spiritual father and physician of this spiritual hospital, which is very real, want you to consider a few things. Number one is the time that you're living in and the lies that you've been told that you might be living and not even realize it. Are we taking this seriously? Because if we don't, we can get real sick. And a lot of people out there are really, really, really spiritually sick. And so on this Lenten journey, as you consider that, I want you to practice 3 things for me. Pretty much give this every year. It's a great reminder. And if you do it, you're going to get to the end of the 6 weeks and your life is going to be so much better. You're going to look back and say, my gosh, I had no idea how powerful a little uptick in my religious observance would be in the betterment of my life. It will make you happier, I promise. And if it sounds crazy, it's because the culture, which is totally backed by Satan himself, has convinced us that this type of fervent religious practice is only for those crazy people. Couldn't be further from the truth. So, confession. You're going to go to confession every week to 2 weeks. And if it's been a really long time, just come on in and say, Father, it's been however many years, and I'm going to walk you through the whole thing. It's going to be a pleasant, wonderful experience that you don't have to be the least bit afraid of. Like I said, I've heard somewhere between 60 and 80,000 confessions. Not a thing that you're going to tell me that I haven't heard multiple times. And you don't need to be bringing a truckload in. So if you're saying to yourself, well, okay, I went the 1 week. This isn't about necessarily like being in like severe mortal sin. It's communing with the unfathomable, beautiful mercy of the Lord's Sacred Heart, which heals us. So it can be all venial stuff, and it can just be a couple of them, right? Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. My last confession was a week ago. I had a little road rage. I got upset with my spouse, and I cussed. And then Jesus, because you've opened up your heart through your own free will, just pours his love into that. And it will change you. But you got to live it in order to realize what that change feels like. So confession every 1 to 2 weeks, all the way through Lent. Number 2, if you can get to daily Mass every day, that would be ideal. But just 1. So clearly you're coming to Sunday Mass, you're going to commit to go into 1 daily Mass somewhere in this beautiful city that has so many Masses. I've never seen anything like it. So there's no possible way anybody can come to me and say, it doesn't fit my schedule. Maybe the noon doesn't, but there's the 6, 7, whatever over at St. Patrick's and all throughout the day. And just 1. And you're going to, in that Mass, by going to it, allow Jesus' unfathomable divine love, which is in that host, to change you. Because again, through your own free will, you're opening your heart to receive him. So that's like the sacramental end of it. Then there's this. I want you to pick 1 sin, and only you know what it is. One of 2 things here. If you got some sin in your life, venial or mortal, that you're like, this darn thing has been with me forever, I want you to go at it. And you're going to just simply pray about it. And it's a tiny little prayer every day. Jesus, I trust in you. You know that I'm dealing with this. Please get rid of it for me. Especially when you come to your daily Mass or your confession, you're bringing that front and center. You're going to try. You're going to try to get rid of that thing. And if you're saying, well, I don't really have that, then the other one I'll give to you is there, this is even more important, trumps the sin end of it. Is there somebody in your life that you need to forgive? That did something horrible to you? Maybe they're dead. Do you need to forgive someone? Then forgive them. And I'm not talking in your heart. Call them, even if they don't want it. If they're dead, go to the grave. Stand by that grave and say exactly what you need to say. I release you from this. Because in forgiving, we heal ourselves. It's the weird part about transgression against us. It's almost like you've been offended or hurt, and then you've got to take that step to heal yourself. But it's really important. And so as we enter into this week, hear it from your priest. This Lent, I don't want you to give up anything aside from that sin. I want you to do these things because Lent's all about getting closer to Jesus. And that's what we need more than anything. Because when we get there, we get the experience of our man in the gospel today, everyone. Right? We get isolated in our lives inside. And we need him. More than what we realize. Just like that leper, like he figured it out. Can you imagine the compassion in our Lord's disposition in his eyes and his vocal tone? So he's moved with pity. God was. And when we come close to God like this, he is moved with compassion for his children, which is what we are. Hear it again. He stretched out his hand, touched him, and said, I do will it. Be made clean.